Alright, so for those of you guys who are following along with me, I want to start off just by making sure we're on the same page. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. And what we're going to do is let's hop online and we're going to grab a couple images or graphics that we're all going to be putting in. So it's important that we all bring in the same stuff so that my screen looks like your screen, and just to make sure it's replicating the same thing. So the first thing that I want to look up in Chrome, I'm just going to look up the word color palette. And then I'm going to go to images. And I'm actually just going to grab this first image right here. And at any point, if I'm going too fast, yell at me and I will slow down. But right here, just go ahead and right click. So I'm in Chrome. If you're not in Chrome, it'll be different. But I do suggest you work in Chrome because it's a little bit easier. We're going to go to Save Image As. And then I'm going to make a new folder to put this in. So just a quick note, I haven't used the network locations very much in the past, so I'm just going to review this for everybody. When you go to Save As, you guys can test this for me. Do you guys see this PC as one of your options? Okay, under this PC, do you guys see network locations at the very bottom? The next thing to look for, I don't have this, but you should. You should have a drive that has your username. So for example, mine would be Ed Nawabi. Do you guys see like your MyPage login name? Yeah? Does anybody not see it? Okay. So if you see your name, this is a great drive to use because if you save anything on the computer, what this allows you to do is to save your work on the network. So especially in this class, so for example, Montana, if you come in next week and you and Thana switch places, if you saved on your computer, those files are locked here, so you can't get to them. If you save them on the network, whatever computer you're sitting at in here or in the two labs across the hall, you'd be good to go. Now, for everybody so that's the first thing, save it onto the network. The other thing that you guys could also do, but I haven't set it up here yet, you can also have a Creative Cloud drive. And let me see, I might have to do this, okay, no, let me look at this right here. Let me show you. There's a little bit of a disconnect, but I will figure it out. So on my Finder, do you see where it says Creative Cloud Files? This is really weird. This doesn't seem right at all. Sorry, hold on. No, I'm gonna stop myself there. Let me not talk about that until I test it, because this is the first semester that we've had this for free, and it's great because with Creative Cloud you do have cloud storage, so whatever you save here will also be at home. Let me test it first before I tell you how it works. So for now, save it onto the network drive, a USB. If you're using Google Drive already, you can do it that way as well. So let's save color palette, this one. And then let's also do kind of this rainbow run right underneath. So again, save image as. And make sure you know where you're saving these because we're going to come back and find them. Whoa, what did I just do? So I'm going to make a new folder in my 27 folder, and I'm just going to call it test. So you could call it test or practice, either one. Oh, no. Rachel, I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell you yet because Google is a jerk. Okay, so sorry. I did the first one. Let me try that. Do you see that it's saving it as a JFIF? I don't want to talk about that right now, but let's just say that the internet has a great way now of saying, hey, I'm going to save it as this file format that you can't use, but it's going to save us lots of bandwidth. Let me back up. I'm so sorry. So everybody saw this first one, right? Okay. The second one is this rainbow one. And one thing just to know, sometimes now when you go to save a file, This is something really new. So if I'm explaining this wrong, I'm sorry, but this is my understanding of it. When I went to save this file, Bailey, is this right? Is this the JFIF? Okay. So this is kind of like a thumbnail file that Google is using now and other web searches. So it's not a JPEG, it's not any other file, but it's just a thumbnail that is essentially useless to us, to be completely honest. So if you ever get a JFIF, like I just did, you actually need to click on the image. I'm going to try it again here. Let's see what we get here. Okay, it's giving me the JPEG here. JPEG. So just look for the JPEG extension. Just to warn you guys, there have been some files that I have even done this to and it still didn't work, but I actually had to click on the website and go to the website to get the JPEG image. Yes?
I might have missed this, but PNG?
PNG is okay, yeah. PNG will still be okay. It's just the JFIF that really doesn't serve us. Okay. So for now, again, let's just do those two color palettes. We've got this one and this one right here. And then when you're done, let's just meet back over in InDesign. Taylor, did you finally get in? Okay, good. So today's going to be tricky because I don't know who I'm talking to. So I'm like, who should I wait for? If you need me to wait for you, please tell me. Just like raise your hand like this and I'll wait. And then when you're ready, just like give me a peace sign like, okay, I'm good to go. All right, so here is our first look at InDesign. Now I'm going to be talking about InDesign to the few people here who have never used it before. So for those of you guys who've already seen it, this will be a great review. This should at least look like Photoshop. So everybody here has taken Photoshop, yes? Okay, good. So it's really similar to Photoshop. We can come over here and create new. And what InDesign is it doesn't just do single pages. Do you mind, actually, Kimberly, do you mind if I use your notebook for just one sec? Thank you. So I will make comparisons between InDesign and Microsoft Word. Not because they're the same thing, but I think it'll help you understand. So you can use InDesign to make publications like portfolios, photo books, or you can use it to make big poster boards. But a lot of professional publishers like magazines and people who publish books, they use InDesign to do their layouts. So you can do a lot with book layouts, and it does really well with formatting formatting text and also holding images at the same time. Okay, so that's what we'll be using it for. We'll be using it to do our board, basically all of our other publishing needs. It's really different from Microsoft Word though, because it's just far more powerful with graphics because it ties right into Photoshop. For today though, what we'll be starting out with is creating what's called, over here, do you see where it says facing pages? We're making a facing pages document. And so I'm going to go to some blank pages, maybe if Kimberly has some, so we don't show your diary in case it's like 9 to 6. Just kidding. So what a facing pages document is it's this right here. It's essentially a booklet. So in Microsoft Word, it's one page after another, right? It's a single-sided document that you can print double-sided, but do you ever see it like this, right? In InDesign, you can actually see that the first page is always a cover, and then when you open your cover, you've got this blank part, and then you've got your second page, right? When I open this, do you see that this second page has a front and a back, and it's right next to this page? So this is ideal for making a portfolio because typically we don't do single-sided portfolios, but we have these big, beautiful books that open up and we can see the project on both pages. Everybody with me so far? Okay, that's what we'll be doing in this class. Thank you for that. So just know that your portfolio will be a double-sided book layout. And I think I said this before, but I'm going to say it again just in case. One of the problems that we were having in the past before we created this class was that when people were making their portfolios, let's say you had just 10 projects, 10 pages, if I took those 10 projects or 10 pages and pinned them up, it looked like 10 different people did them. There was really no cohesiveness to it. The fonts were different, the titles were different, the graphics were all different. The project should really be the only thing that's different. But we're going to use our portfolio and our branding package to just bring everything together so it's cohesive, okay? So we're going to start off by making an 8x8 document in here. And right now, do you see that the width and height are not set to inches? Okay, so let's hit close. Let's actually cancel out of this. So when you're using InDesign at home, what I want you guys to do before you open anything, go ahead and go up to, I think it's either Edit Preferences or File Preferences, sorry. It always takes me a minute to figure out if I'm on a Mac or a PC. Okay, so Edit Preferences, and we're going to go up to Units. So if you do this without any documents open, like we are right now, it changes the system setting. So every document you open after this will do the settings that we're about to do. If you happen to have a document open and you do this, it'll only do it for that document. So the next document you open will still be in pikas. Got it? So is it best to do this when you have a document open or nothing open? Nothing open. Yep, let's do the system standard. So when you go to units and increments, up here at the top, do you see where it says ruler units? It's the first thing. Come down to where it says horizontal and vertical and change both of those to inches. Edit and come all the way down to preferences. Are you on a Mac?
Yeah.
So with yours, it could be file preferences. It's a lot closer to the top. Swing around so I can see your laptop. I promise it should be easier on a Mac. Okay, go to InDesign. Go to that first menu where it says InDesign. Like click where it says InDesign. Up top. Nope, up top. Oh. Yeah. Oh, stop. Yep, nope, up. It says, it actually, yeah, there you go. There's that preferences. Yep. Okay. I told you it was sooner, I just didn't know how soon it was. It's really, really soon. So now if I go to create new, do you see how it's giving it to me in inches? So I prefer that we work in inches. If we were in graphic design, we could absolutely work in pikas, but because we are doing this strictly for interior design, let's work with what we know. Now, do you guys remember from that quick screen flash that I had what the size of our branding package document should be? Good, so just right in here, let's do 8x8. And let's keep facing pages on. Maddie, you can even come sit by me if you want, so you have to keep turning your head, if that helps.
Oh, it's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, thank you.
You're more than welcome to swing around, and I'll just come on this half. Wait, and then after that, just go ahead and hit create. Thank you. Of course. And I'm just going to ignore this for now. I'm going to close out the tutorials. And if you have used InDesign at any other time than this term, this will look different to you. So this is completely different than how I have taught it before in the past. Photoshop probably looked like this. Maybe your InDesign, I'm not sure. But essentially the file menus have changed, so we can review this too. So to start off, we can just keep pages and properties kind of staggered behind each other like this. Eventually what I like to do, take a look at my screen, because I use pages and properties so much, I like to pull pages out to the left, kind of get it on its own. And then today won't be ideal just because my screen is already so small, but I'm going to take pages, and this is going to be really hard to see, but down here, I'm going to try to insert it down there so that they're stacked on top of each other. Do you guys see the little blue line that's on my screen right now? I'm not going to let go, but you might have to peek up to see it. If I let go now, do you see how it stacked those two menus? So at home, this is how I have it. Let me show you one more time. So I drag pages out, and then I take it and I just come here until I see that blue light flash, so I can stack them. Okay. Again, this is my personal setup, so if you want to do this as well, please do, just because I use these two menus so much. I'm going to give a little bit more real estate to the properties menu, but I do want my pages down here. So let me start off just by talking about pages. If I wanted this to be a 5-page document, there's different ways of adding pages. The easiest and most straightforward, do you see this little piece of paper that looks like a layer in Photoshop? Click on that and that will add a new page for you. That's one way. You could also come on any page and right-click on it, and do you see where it says Insert Pages up at the very top? If you knew you needed 15 pages and you didn't want to click 15 times, just come up here and write 15 pages, and you can even tell it where to go. Like if you all of a sudden you wanted to do it in the middle, like let's say you laid out most of your portfolio and then you finished your residential design class, so maybe in the middle of your portfolio you wanted 6 sheets after page 2 or something like that. You could come back in and add it. So the most convenient way is this little piece of paper if you just want to add 1 or 2 quick pages, but if not, go ahead and do your right click, Insert Pages. So far so good? Okay. So I've got 18 pages so far. I don't necessarily need 18 pages. Make sure you have at least, let's say 5 or 6. Let me scroll up here to the top. So up here at the top, what we see right now on our screen is a piece of paper, and we will refer to this as either your page or your spread. So a spread really refers to the 2 pages side by side. So if I were to print, this is the front page of my cover, Kimberly's notebook, and this is the back side of it. They're not really separate pages. So this is the second sheet, and this is the back side of the second sheet. So that's how you have to imagine it. It's a book or a notebook that we're opening up and flipping through. You are essentially seeing the 2-sided print right in front of you as it's happening. Okay, so again, this is wonderful for portfolios because you can just design each page side to side. Another thing that we're looking at right now, this screen is referred to as like our working screen. If we hit W, it takes it to what's called what a print preview would be. So did you guys notice how those pink and purple lines disappeared? Okay. The pink and purple lines are non-printing objects. It's just showing us where our margins are. Unlike Microsoft Word, it doesn't mean that we can only work here. It's just a graphic indication of where we wanted those margins to be. Okay, so you can work outside of these lines. When you go to print, it might warn you like, hey, you're about to print outside of the margins, but you can work outside of it. And it's most common for people to work outside. Bless you. A lot of people do what's called a full bleed. And what that means, let me come up here and show you what a full bleed isn't. Actually, before I tell you, can you see the difference between the edge of this poster and this poster? Which one do you think is the full bleed? Top or bottom? Bottom, okay? A lot of people do full bleed in this class. Part of that just has to do with who's printing it for you and the turnaround time. So even here at the college, they have what's called a digital press. They can do a full bleed for you. So a lot of times with our margins, we will make sure that our text is within the margins, but then everything else will probably push out to the side. So that's what I mean by a full bleed. It goes all the way to the edge. And then in addition to our margins, there's going to be a lot of other non-printing objects, and that has to do with the frames that we'll talk about in a minute. But just hit W to kind of toggle back and forth between the two so you can see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to skip over text for just a minute. I usually start with text, But for today, I want to start with images, and then we'll go into text, because text, I'm going to show you guys maybe 2 things, and then I want you guys to figure the rest out on your own, okay? Go ahead and go down to your pages 2 and 3, and we're going to go over how to insert images in InDesign. Everything in InDesign basically relies on something called a frame. So whether it's text, yeah.
Zoom out.
Oh yeah. So if you hit Control, let me kind of meet you where you are. So if you hit Control 0 at the same time, it'll zoom in on one page. So Control plus 0. There you go. And if you want to zoom out more, you have to hold the Alt key down and then use your roller ball to kind of zoom in and out. Okay, so hold the Alt key, roll in and out. You can also do Control plus or minus. Sometimes I like Control plus or minus more because I'm old. That's really what it is. That's just how they used to do it. I'm like, what is this Alt stuff? Okay, so either one works. Let me try to get this centered again. Okay, we'll go with that. But everything in InDesign relies on what's called a frame. So you create a frame, and if you want to put text in it, you click T, and then you can click on it and fill it with text. We're going to start our frames by putting images in it, and then eventually we'll learn how to do other things, like how to put like strokes on it, change the colors, things like that. For today, we're just going to be putting images inside of it. So to put an image in InDesign, there's 2 ways. First, you can make a frame and then put the image in that frame, or you can just put the image in directly. And let's see the difference between the 2. So to start off, let me point out, do you guys remember in Photoshop what selection tool you should have always lived in for the most part? V. Yep, so always live in V here too. This is your move selection. Basically, at the end of the day, it does the least damage. Like, you can accidentally move something and easily move it back. That's a lot easier than, it's not as bad as Photoshop, but V is where you want to be. Now, F is for frame, and you can see that my crosshairs went from a cursor, like this, and then when I hit F for frame, it turns into a cursor. So to draw a frame, 2 different ways. Tell me, I want you to try it right now on one piece of paper. On the first one, click and drag, and then on the second one, click really quick. And tell me what the difference is.
You click on the page, you can enter.
Yeah, so if I click and drag, I'm just kind of freehanding. But if I click really quick, I can set what the size is right here. So if I want a 4x4, I can put in a 4x4. And with this, there's no right or wrong way. You just have to do which one works best for you. So if you know you need a specific frame size, do a specific frame size. If you already have a lot of content on your page, you just kind of want to eyeball where it goes, eyeball it. Now when you're done, this is why we always go back to V. If I don't go back to V, it's going to keep drawing frames. But if I hit V, now I can grab these frames and move them around. Those are your 2 frame techniques. Click and drag, right? Or click and then specify the size. Now, however you choose to do your frame, when you click on it, do you see that your properties are dynamic based on what's selected? So let me click off of it again. So look at my properties and your properties right now. It says no selection, so it's just telling me about my document. It's an 8x8 and there's 18 pages. But when I click on this frame, it tells me that the width and the height is 4 inches by 4 inches. Do you guys see that? So I can even come here and say, you know what, I meant it to be 6x6. And if I hit this lock, I don't want to hit it now, sorry. If I make it 6x6 and then hit the lock, it'll keep it in proportion. So even this one right here, if I wanted it to match, instead of trying to kind of like eyeball it over here, I could just come in and do 6. Let me turn off the lock by 6, and then I'll lock it again. So why don't you guys try that? Make both of them 6 by 6, and then look at my screen too. You can use these things called smart guides. Do you see how as I'm moving this frame around, when I get to the center or the middle of the page, one comes on, and when I get to the absolute center, another one highlights like that? So 2 6 by 6 frames centered on the page. So let's keep going. So now that we have a frame, remember a frame can either hold text or an image. In this case, we want it to be an image. So to pull in an image, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this frame here to activate it. And we know that it's activated because tell me what happened, what's the difference graphically between the one that's selected or activated and the one that isn't? Do you guys see that it has like these toggle points, right? It's also slightly darker. Do you guys see that? So before you put in an image into a frame, just make sure you have it selected, okay? The shortcut to put an image in a frame is Control D. I don't know why. I usually just say duh because it's so obvious that that's what it is. But now it's asking you what image do you want to put in here. So remember at the beginning of class when I said, remember where you saved this? This is that time to remember where you saved your file. So go there, and then we're gonna look for the one that looks like this. Okay. Before I bring mine in, I'm gonna hang out here for just a minute though, and wait for ya. Yeah.
Back to that, or go get to that point one more time.
Control D. Duh. Yep. Duh. And this one right here. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to hit open, and we're going to talk about ContentAware here in just a minute, and it's fine, but we can turn on ContentAware and it'll help us a little bit. So can you guys kind of see what's happening here, where we have this big frame, but then we have kind of this little image inside of it. Is this how yours pulled in on yours? Okay. We're going to find out why that's happening. But one thing I want you guys to take note of is now we have a frame, so we can click on our frame. And then in addition to that, do you see that when I get towards the center, a hand comes up? Now we have a frame and content inside of it. See how I can grab the content as well? So this is showing me that this is the image inside that frame. Now grab it and move it out of the frame. And do you see that even though it's out of the frame, it's only showing me the part of the image that's inside the frame? Okay. So imagine that this is an AutoCAD PDF. You might not want the whole thing, but you just might want a detail of it. So you can use your image and your frame to kind of manipulate what you're looking at. You don't have to go into Photoshop and crop everything to the exact view that you want, but again, use your frame and your image to kind of work together. Okay, this is going to take me a minute to find what I'm looking for. Why aren't you showing this to me? Here we go. Oh, okay. So many new menus. I'm going to ditch pages back to the back. Keep yours how it is. But I need the real estate to show you, okay? I am not going to cheat and go to inDesign Classic. We're going to embrace the new wave. So what's happening here is that because this is an image on the internet, in your Properties menu, right underneath Transform and Width and Height, do you see these 3 dots right here? Click on those 3 dots to give you more options. Everybody got that okay? Yeah. And then we're going to scroll all the way down. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Undo, 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 undo. Okay. After that, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And the second thing from the top, do you see where it says frame fitting? And there's all these different options. Okay. These first 2 are basically the 2 that we will use for the majority of this class. So let's click on both of them and tell me the difference between fill frame and fit content. Is it pretty obvious what the difference is? Okay, so this first one, fill frame, it's taking that image and proportionately filling it up so that the frame is totally full. Okay, in this, but again, let's go back to the example of this being a floor plan. This is just colors and something pretty, so it doesn't really matter if it's cut off. But if this is a floor plan and I've got important information here, is this the best fitting to use? Probably not. So we're going to use the next one. Okay, now we fit it proportionately. Let's see if this works. Did they get rid of it? Sorry, give me just one moment. No, this is the one. This is the one I never, ever, ever want you to use. So the third one in, do you see how it did that? It made it longer. These are colored stripes. It's fine. If you had a floor plan, what did it just do to your floor plan? Yeah. If you have a picture of yourself, what did it do? You just lost like 30 pounds, right? We never want to do this. Everything should be in proportion. So always use these first two buttons, okay? But what you can use, these are nice. See how I have like this blank frame that doesn't really fit this anymore? You can always come through, and if you know this is how you want it to fit, you can resize your frame so it absolutely just kind of cradles around your image. Okay? That works for me. Now here's one thing that might be a little bit dangerous about what we did. When we first started, do you remember I had you guys expand your properties menu? Right? So looking at your properties menu, this is really hard to see now. You just have to know what this is. But this is basically the percentage of your drawing or image that you've zoomed into. So how zoomed into this image are we? 152. Now, just imagine this. When you guys are in Photoshop or even online, if you keep scrolling into something and keep zooming in, what happens to that image? What happens to the pixels? It becomes super pixelated. We're losing quality. So really in this class, don't tell anybody else. You can probably get away with like 110%, maybe 120, but definitely not 150. Under the perfect circumstances, we are always 100 and lower. And typically we are, but these are internet images, so we just do what we can with them, okay? So that's why this is coming in so small. So ideally, what size or scale should your images be coming in at? 100 or lower, good. If you absolutely have to, let's just establish a maximum. What's the maximum percentage? Let's do 110. We'll do 110. Even 120 gets sketchy. It'll look good on your screen, but when you print it, you'll see it. Okay, so let's not fudge more than 10%. What I'd like to do, let's skip down to the next screen. Okay, so go down to your next set of spreads, your next spread, sorry. And then remember how in the first example we drew our frames first and then we inserted an image? This time, without a frame even being here, we're going to do Control D, and let's bring in that exact same image. And you'll see that your cursor is kind of holding it, and it's basically waiting for you to tell it where to put it. So click, and it should just place it on your screen. Straightforward, right? Okay, imagine this for me. This is an 8x8 piece of paper. So that's how big this is. Let's say that your final portfolio is an 8x8. What happens if you use this same technique with your 24x36 AutoCAD project? How is it going to come in? Huge, right? So I prefer to always have the frame there first. Let's test the other image out. I'm going to delete this one. Let's go back to Control D and try to bring in this one. I don't know how big it's going to be. So this one's a little bit bigger. See how this one came in a little bit crazy? Not crazy, but obviously too big for our spread. Yeah? Is that how it came in for you guys? How did it come in for you, Rachel?
Mine came in really small.
Oh, it might still be the thumbnail, so make sure to place it. So is it this small?
Sorry, yes.
All right, so don't forget that last click. Okay. Again, ideally, have your frame there. If you don't, you can just resize it on your own, but I just think it's a lot more steps to have to go back and do. Okay. My new Revit people, are you guys, not Revit, sorry. These two classes back to back. Oh, my InDesign people, you guys good? The new people, Jasmine, you're good? Okay, Bailey? All right, excellent. So again, ideal conditions, we want it to be in a frame first before we pull it in. Now let's talk a little bit about file management. This will really help me. Do you guys remember and understand the way X references worked in AutoCAD? Kind of. So the way images are pulled in InDesign are similar to how it works in AutoCAD, where they're referenced. So one of the things that makes InDesign as good as it is that it references the images outside of the file. What on earth does that mean? So let me give you kind of like an analog description of it, just kind of to see if this will help you guys follow along. Microsoft Word is essentially like a giant scrapbook. So if you were to make your portfolio in Word, you have your page, you put your image on there. If your image is like 10 megs, now your file just got 10 megs bigger, okay? Do that 10 times. How big is your file? Like 100 megs, right? It just gets really, really big. Let's say that 10 meg file is also your logo that you put on every single page. Everybody still with me? This is Microsoft Word. You've got 10 pages, your logo is on every page, and they're 10 megs, so now you have a 100 meg file. This is InDesign. Now we're in InDesign. You have 10 pages, right? When you pull in your logo, okay, I'm like totally voking over here. Good luck understanding this on the lecture. But here's InDesign. We've got all of our 10 files, or our 10 pages. Our file is here on Creative Cloud, our desktop, whatever. Okay, this is our logo file. So in InDesign, we say, hello logo file, let's reference it here. This 10 megs stays here. It's just referencing it. Did my file get any bigger? It didn't get bigger because it's looking here. So that same logo goes on all 10 pages. Everybody still with me? This happens. Let's say your last name changes. You get married. Congratulations. At least 3 of the portfolios I showed you, I'd never seen that last name before because they got married. People get divorced. Their names change. Whatever happens. So now, Microsoft Word person gets a new last name, hopefully for good reasons. They're both good reasons. I mean, I've seen it happen. I'm going to stop talking. Okay. Microsoft Word person, they have 10 pages to change. How do you change it in Microsoft Word? One at a time, 10 times. Okay? It's like a bitter reminder or a happy reminder. I'm going to stop talking. We're going to come to this one over here. Because it's referenced, you change this one and all of the other ones change. Good, right? Like we love that part of it. But what happens, remember how this file is on my desktop? I live with somebody who's OCD that doesn't like files on the desktop, so they move it to the trash or they move it somewhere else. Where did my reference go? It's gone, right? So if you've taken AutoCAD before, if you lose your XREF, it gives you a warning message. It's like, oh, I've lost my XREF. InDesign will do that too. So what we're going to do now is essentially like destroy some stuff in InDesign, and then we're going to say you're fine. We're going to show you where this lives. Sometimes this is, I'm not going to say a problem, but it's something that you'll have to tackle in this class, because if you're not on a laptop, you have work here and then you have work at home. So how do you get those two things together? We will try to go over that today. We might not have time, but next time we come back, we'll talk about packaging files and kind of sending them back and forth. But at this point, with this crazy stuff that we've done so far, is everybody with me? Okay, you guys ready to destroy some stuff? Okay, let's do this. We're going to do 2 different examples. So in our pages, we have this file here and this file here, right? Okay, let's do this first, just to test it out. So this file right here, what I want you guys to do is I want you to rename it. So right now mine is called download, and I'm going to rename mine Stripe. I don't care. So the first one we're just renaming. And as soon as you rename it, come back into InDesign and tell me what, if you, again, for those of you guys who are new, hello, welcome. You've looked at InDesign for 40 minutes and I'm asking you to notice the difference. You might not because it's all new to you, but hopefully you noticed something. Montana, I saw you nodding. You noticed it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Jasmine, did you guys notice? Sarah?
Savannah.
Savannah, dang it, I'm so sorry. Bailey, did you notice it?
I'm sorry, give me 1 second.
Okay, no, you're fine, sorry.
So I renamed it and then what did you
Hop back into InDesign and tell me if you notice something. You see it? Do you guys see that question mark? We're gonna find out what that question mark means. So if I click on it, see how it's saying locate? It's basically like, where did download go? Do you see how right here it's looking for the word download? What we have to do now is just go back to that file that's called Stripe and then hit open, and it automatically updates it for you. Did you guys see that? So really, most of the time you won't be renaming it, but you might be moving it. So can we do that one? Did everybody get that okay? That needed to do it? Yeah? Okay. Let's do the next one. So now we've got A and B. And do this for me. Let's go to that folder. Let's create a new folder. I'm going to call it mean because this is mean. And we're going to move everything in here. So I'm dragging and I'm dropping it in this folder. I did that really quickly, so I'm going to wait for you to do it. While you guys are working, and I'm rudely chewing, I'm sorry, let me finish what I'm doing too. Great, while you guys are working, let me just point out, this is something that could realistically happen. Here you could be working on the desktop, and then so everything that it is referencing, it's looking for the desktop. Before you leave, you throw everything on a USB. So when you go home, InDesign's going to open up and be like, what desktop is this? Where am I? Where are all my references? So this is really common. Everybody get their stuff in a new folder? Yeah? Okay, so once you go to a new folder, do you see that the question mark pops up again? No, here's the best part about this. So both of these are angry. Actually, no, let's do more stuff. Oh, I should have done this first. Let me see. You guys don't have to do this. You do it really quick. I'm going to make a whole bunch of copies of this and see how they're all angry. They're all like, what the heck? Yes? Okay. So what you can do, click on one of them, and then we're going to go to mean. And do you see how right now on mine, search for missing links in this folder? Do you guys see that that's selected? What that does, the people at InDesign understand that disconnect between working here and then going home and working again. So they assume that if all of your files were on your desktop, all of those files will be on your USB. So instead of making you go through and find each one, if you have search for missing links, it's going to look for you. So I click on Stripe, and then it tells me, search this relink directory and found, I can't read, and found and relink 4 missing links. So do you see how this one was automatically taken care of because it searched that folder? Okay. And then sometimes you might just accidentally delete something and move that one thing. One of the most common things is how many of you guys download something and then forget to take it out of your downloads folder and maybe delete it later. So if it's gone, it'll just be gone and you might have to re-download it or something. But please beware that even though you see a preview of it here, if you see that question mark, they're really nice. I think they realize like how panic-induced designers are. It used to be a yellow triangle with an exclamation point. And now it's this nice little question mark, like, hey, what's going on? I still stress out, but I appreciate the gesture. Okay, so that's how you guys can pull in images and understand reference locations. Good so far? Okay, let's do Let me delete these. I don't want these anymore. I'd like to go over text a little bit, but not a lot. In fact, no, I don't think I'm going to go over text that much with you guys. The only thing that I will say is if you click a frame and type in T and then click inside of it, if you go to properties, there are like a million things that you can do. And most of the stuff that you see in like Microsoft Word will be under the character menu. And do you see how I click the more options? And like the paragraph settings? Okay. Just know that most of them are here. The only thing that I'm not going over is how to do a multi-page multi-page text. I want you guys to look at that in the crash course. One thing that's really different about InDesign though, in one of your frames, go ahead and type in your name and then center it for me. So just like Microsoft Word, for any changes to be applied, it has to be selected first. So for example, right now, do you see that my text is not selected? Let me zoom over here. So if I hit center, I'm a jerk, it's still centered. Here, let me make it bigger. Let me prove my point. If I made this 16, do you see how that stayed the same? So for anything to change, highlight it and then change it. But let's do one other thing while we're here. And I think this is a good review for anybody who's taken InDesign before because all of these menus have changed. Is anybody who's taken InDesign feeling like where did everything go? Please say you do, because I feel that way. Don't do it. Embrace the change. Because, but in 2021, if we don't have Classic, we're screwed. Embrace the change. Just embrace it. Okay. It's so hard for me not to go to Classic, but we're gonna figure it out. So so you can center your text inside of a text frame. That's simple. Not simple, but it's a simple concept because you guys have done it in Word and PowerPoint forever, right? But another thing that you can do, look at the subtle difference. When I am in my text frame, I have a blinking cursor and I don't have these toggle points to grab, right? If I hit escape, now I have my text frame selected. So there are different text, let me see exactly, there are different paragraph settings versus text frame settings. So your text frame, this is the one I missed the most. Let me figure out where it is. Now you have to, so this is for everybody, so everybody take a peek because this is gone from where it used, our beautiful graphic buttons are gone. You have to come all the way down to the bottom and go to Options. And we go to this menu from like 10 years ago, Vertical Justification, turn on Preview, and we can go Center, Bottom. Justify won't do anything because I only have one line. But this is another important thing with InDesign, to know how you guys are stacking your text and how you're justifying it within the frame. So let me show you guys that one more time. Let me ask you this. Based on what I just said, will this get me into the options menu? No. Wait, will it? Let me find out. No, it won't. Okay, so I have to hit escape and I have to have the text frame selected. Okay, once I'm in my text frame, either come down to options or unfortunately go back to what we used to do 5 years ago, right click and find text frame options. Okay, Control B. There's a little bit of a shortcut. They used to have these beautiful graphic icons that showed you the text box, and it was up and middle and down, and I don't know why they got rid of them. This is something that I know everybody uses all the time. Hopefully one day it'll come back. Okay. For your assignment that you guys are doing for this week, this should be enough, right? I showed you how to insert images. I also showed you guys how to put in text. Now the thing that I didn't show you guys is if you want to download different fonts, I always go to DaFont. Where do you guys go? DaFont. Anything else?
Or the Adobe.
Yeah, the Adobe type.
Adobe Typekit doesn't have like a lot of stuff, but they have some.
But it's so easy because you really just press it.
I know. This is true. This is true. So if you want to find different fonts, I almost always use DaFont. There's also one called Font Squirrel. These are free sites to get different font styles. So really look through any of these. And we're just talking about Typekit. So if you go, nope, I'm going to stop that for now, only because I'm trying to keep it reined in. Just go with those. We'll do Typekit when I figure out Cloud, because I know those two things are kind of synonymous to one another. Before I end this though, do you guys want me to spend 5 minutes on how you can color a frame, like add color to it, and how to add a border? Yes? Okay. Let me do that. So I'm going to go to a new page, and I'm just going to add some frames. You can use a frame that you already have on your page. You don't need new frames for this. I just wanted to have an example here. And in fact, I'm even going to copy one of these that already has content in it. Now for now, just because I don't have a lot of space, I'm just going to collapse this so I have more room on my screen. Nope, I need to bring it right back. We need the properties menu again. Oi. Okay, so with any frame, you can click on it, and under appearance, do you see where it says stroke? This will allow you to add a frame around something. So right now, do you see how it's set to 0? If I start adding, do you see how it's adding this frame? Are you guys able to see that frame? Yeah. So in addition to that, let's hang out here for just a minute. I just need to find where everything went. There it is. Okay, so click on the word stroke for me, because I'm about to have one. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to skip ahead. Do you see where it says align stroke, and right now it's on the center? You can even bring it to the inside or to the outside. And I think it's really important to know the difference, because imagine that you've set up your page so that your text box has to be exactly 4x6 because you have these perfect margins. So if you go to the middle, do you see that you're just bleeding off of that 4x6 to the outside? So there's one example where you want to bring it into the inside, right? What if this is an AutoCAD file, you bring it to the inside, and now you're covering up your line work? Where should it go now, right? Just flip it to the outside. Do you guys see the subtle difference between when you'd use either one? Sometimes it doesn't matter, but the times that it does matter, you'll want to know where to change these. So again, the way that I got here is you just click on the word stroke, and then you get more options. Type is kind of fun. With Valentine's Day coming up, you can make little coupons with these dashed lines. Gross. Okay. Please don't get too cheesy with your portfolio though. Remember, be professional. This is not a scrapbook. I like showing you buttons, but let's take it easy. Okay. And again, depending on the stroke size, it changes the appearance of what you've chosen. So far, so good? Okay. The other thing that you can do is the stroke color. So do you see right now, this is black. If I double click on that, I have the standard colors that I can choose from. Okay. Or I can go to my color palette and choose from here. I can go, where else can I go? Where are you, color palette? You can't see it on my screen. This sucks. Do you guys see where I'm clicking right here? These 4 little lines? Yes? Okay, this is my cursor. Come over here, and you can change it to CMYK. And then you can see more colors. Did you guys see that? Click there, click. You can't see my screen right now because it's falling off, but it says CMYK. And then you can grab different colors.
How did you do?
So double, do you see stroke? Yours is probably still black.
Yeah.
Double or click on that, okay? And then you have this other menu here. Rachel, it's like a whole new world. It's crazy, yeah. I don't mind it, but it's just taking me a minute to get through it. And to get your other color palette, click on color. Oh, mine is normal now because I clicked CMYK. And do you see right above it? Wait, is this where it is? Hold on. Is it all black? Okay, so what you want to do on yours, click on these 3 lines right here. And nope, that didn't work. Sorry, click on the paint palette, this one right here. And then when you click up here, does it now say CMYK, like lab, CMYK, RGB? Grab CMYK. We'll be printing these, so do CMYK. So you have to have this paint palette for this menu to pop up. There is one other thing that you can do when you're in here. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it. Okay, I'm going to have you guys look with me. Effects? No. So do you see how right now, if I hit W, there's no color in between this? You can add a stroke fill color. Not this. This will fill the whole thing with that color. Is it in here? Oh wait, is this it? No. Oh gosh. I really want, now, nope, don't get stuck on it, but you're going to be stuck on it. Oh, here we go. I found it. Okay, click on stroke again. And then down at the bottom, do you see where it says gap color none? Right here, sorry. You can even change the gap color if that's something you want to do. A lot of people asked for it a couple years ago that now I like to point it out to people. So again, that was stroke and then gap color. The other thing that you can do, even in here, you won't be able to see it, but do you see how above stroke it says fill? That essentially means what color should your text frame be. So if I grab any color here, I've kind of got this hot pink color. I can't see it now, but if I grab my image and shrink it down, do you see now it has a pink background? Again, please don't do this. I just want to show you how to add color to it. So if I go to an empty text frame, like this, I can go fill and make it black. So for today's assignment, I can come here and find my color palette. One thing I didn't go over, if you want to make circles, when you hit F for frame, by default it brings up a rectangle. But there are also ellipses, and if you hold Shift down, it locks it so it makes a circle. So again, F for frame, and then off to the side we've got different sizes. Sorry, different shapes. Let's say you want these to be the same color. Let's hope it works. If I hit I, it's an eyedropper. So just like painting, before you paint something, first you dip it in the color, and then you come brush what you want to paint. I'll do that one more time. So I for eyedropper, pretend it's a paintbrush. You dip it in the paint and then color over whatever you want to paint. And then I looked at Stephanie's screen and I saw that she remembered something from last semester, so now I have to show you guys. So come to any rectangular frame for me. Okay. So we're talking about different shapes. So here's a circle, here's a rectangle. But on any frame, do you guys see this little yellow dot? Sorry, little yellow square. If you hover, it says click to edit corners. Click on it for me. And now every corner has a yellow square at a diagonal, right? Click and drag that. Maybe. Nope, let me zoom in. Yep, so click and drag it to the right or left, and it rounds your corners. You can also hold, I think it's Alt-click. Please don't do this. Stephanie, you did an okay one. Which one was it? It was this one that I was terrified of. I mean, maybe it goes with your style. I don't know. I think we're breaking out of like the modernist, everything's very plain. I don't know. But you can do different corners too. Yeah. Okay. Yell at me. What else do you guys need? Is this enough? Is this more than enough? You guys good to get started? Okay. The last thing that we will have to go over is how on earth are you going to save this and send it to me? So let's do that together. The first thing will be, let's start with the easy thing. How do you send this to me? So I want everything in a PDF. I don't want your InDesign files until the very end. So in InDesign, you export as a PDF. Okay? So everybody right now hit Control E and let's export together. So take a look here. Does it say file name and then save as type Adobe PDF print? That's what we want. So I'm going to call this test. And then we're going to hit save and a new menu will pop up that shows us some options. It's a little overwhelming, but the only thing I want you to check is the second thing where it says compression. Please make sure that image quality and image quality both say maximum. There was one semester, I don't know what happened with our install, but everybody was set to draft and everybody's work looked awful. Everybody's at maximum? Okay. If that looks good, go ahead and hit, actually let's go back up to general. We're going to do it two different ways. Right now under general, do you see how it says all and then export as pages? So there's a giant screen and I expect you to know what I'm talking about. Pages all, export as pages. Do you guys see that? Go ahead and hit export. Let's do that one more time before we open it. Let's do Control E. This time call it whatever you called it, but add the word pages. And I lied, sorry. It should have been spreads. But we'll know what we're talking about. So click on spreads for me. And then after you export this one, please open up both of them and tell me the difference between them. You might have to go through a few pages before you notice the difference.
So I exported it once,
Uh-huh.
and then when I went to export it again, I can't get back the same menu that gives me that option.
Oh, well, let's
Like
go
it
back.
just shortcuts to.
Let's do this. So I'm going to do Control E. And then this time I'll just do the exact same thing. So replace it, yes. Oh, it's already open. Okay, let me rename it. So as soon as you hit save, it should pop it up again. Try that one more time for me. So So Control E, did it work? I'm magic. Okay. And since you guys are opening these up for the first time, it might take a minute for you guys to actually open them. Raise your hand if you've had a chance to open them yet. Okay. And give people a couple more minutes. Do you guys, just to yourself, can you see the difference between the two? Okay. So if you haven't had a chance, take a peek up at my screen. But the pages are single pages. So this is what we're used to working in Microsoft Word, right? Single pages. So when we go to print our final portfolio, this is what we'll send maybe whoever's printing it, right? We'll just send them single page PDF so they have each page on their own. But when I want to edit and kind of critique your work, I always want the spreads so that I can see what it looks like side by side. So I get an idea of what the whole spread is supposed to look like. Okay? So for your branding package, I want the spreads so I can see what it looks like side by side. If most of the people who turned it in last semester used both sides of the page. Okay? All right, so that was the first part, exporting it as a PDF. Did you guys get that okay? All right, let's do one last thing. And this will help you guys take your work from here in the lab to wherever you're going, whether it's a USB or not a Creative Cloud drive, but even like Google Drive, however you're working. So what we want to do, it's going to make us save this. And in fact, I won't save it now. I'm going to let it yell at me to say I need to save this. What we need to do now is package our work. So we're going to go to File and then Package. And then what packaging does, it's like this all-intensive thing. It creates PDFs, it resaves your InDesign file, and it goes and looks for all of your images, and no matter where they are, they put it into one new folder. And it also copies your fonts so that you don't want to go home, open it up, and realize that all the fonts you used are no longer like on your machine because you might have something downloaded here that isn't at home. So that's an overview. I'm going to skip past this for now. I'm just going to click on Package, and now it's yelling at me. Publication must be saved. The thing that's nice is now in newer versions, you can save in this menu before you'd have to exit out and restart. So what I'm going to do now is just in this test folder, I'm going to call it Test 2 because I think I already have a test in there. I'm going to hit Save, and then a new menu pops up. This time, if you guys look at the bottom of my screen, what is it saving? Is it saving an InDesign file, or what is it asking me to save? Right here. What are we making? A folder. So remember all that stuff I said? The PDF, the file, the fonts, everything? All of those are going to go in this folder. So I'm just going to keep it Test 2 folder. And here you can see what it's doing. It's copying the fonts, it's copying the graphics, it's updating the graphics, it's making something called an IDML. InDesign is pretty much horrible when it comes to trying to open newer versions and older versions. It's basically incompatible, even if you were to go from 2020 to 2019. The only way to do that is this IDML. We won't have to use them in this class, but I just want you to know that they exist. Okay? Include PDF print. We can do that as well. So when we hit Package, this is warning me that I have a font that might have a creative license. That's fine. We're just going to say, okay, I get it. What they don't want happening, some people spend up to like thousands of dollars on their fonts and they're proprietary. So InDesign is warning you that you have paid for the license. I can't just give it to Savannah for free. That's kind of what it's doing right now. Savannah's like, why me? Okay. Now I'm going to go open up that folder, Test 2 folder. So this is basically ready to either be zipped or just dragged and dropped onto my USB, dragged and dropped onto Creative Cloud, whatever. But when you look inside, here's my InDesign document. It looks a lot like the IDML, the markup, but we're going to ignore that one for now and see how this one's bigger. Okay. Here is the PDF preview, so that if somebody is working on this or printing it, they can see a preview of what it's actually supposed to look like. Our links are all of the images that were inside of it. And then here's the fonts, or font. One good thing to get in the habit of is if you package something, keep working in that folder. So from here on out, in your links folder, like once you get your projects rounded up, put everything in your links folder. Okay? If you end up losing stuff, not losing stuff, but if you end up getting a little bit messy, go ahead and repackage it and start working with that new package. Okay? So this part is strictly for you. I won't ask for anything packaged up until almost the end of the semester, but this is how you can transfer your work from home to here and here to home. How was that for a crash course? I hope that was a good review. So I'm going to stop the lecture now. I will post it. I don't think I have, do I have a discussion board yet? Okay, so I do have a YouTube playlist for this class under discussions. Let me update it to put this crash course, maybe another crash course if you need it, so you can keep watching it. Yeah. I'll be around. The rest of the time is really just for you guys to work. Now, let's do this. I'm actually going to turn off the discussion. So if you guys saw, there was supposed to be an assignment where you guys put your work online. There are so many of us in here that what I'd like to do next week before class, okay? So before class, like when you guys come in, they should be ready to go. I'm going to download all of your PDFs and we're just going to project them. Okay, so Mia, using an example, when Mia's is up, give us feedback, right? Like, and feedback does not, it's going to be cute. It's going to be nice. We're going to like it. We're going to talk about why we like it. Like, I like that font. It really matches the style of this graphic. Or if there's some, the most important feedback that you can give is constructive feedback. Like, I like that font, but it's really hard to read. Do you want to use it somewhere else? Or have you tried to find like an alternate or an option? Okay, so I will update your assignment to show that we will be projecting these beginning of class, and it will be Mia's job to take notes as people talk about her work. Okay, so it's kind of like a big group assignment. So we'll quickly go through everybody's. We went through last semester's class in about 5 minutes. Of course, that was without comments, but I kind of want to see where everybody is. And then the next submission is the one that I will be commenting heavily on. All right? Do you guys know what you need to do for next week then? Okay, good. I'm going to stop for now.